This is something I'm very excited about, and this is the reason this topic is part of the reason why I created this event, because of my debilitating fear of public speaking and stage fright and putting myself out there. And I wanted to put together a group of incredibly successful entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, just to make it, because I'm a woman and I work mostly with women who have stepped into the spotlight and use that to really further their impact and get the message out for their mission. And so I love this quote. I actually made it up. Stepping to the spotlight is not about you. It's about who and how you can serve those who are most in need of your message. And if you were here earlier, one of our speakers, Elaine Powell, said something very similar. And so I'm glad that she said it, because I wanted to reinforce that. When it's about you, it's so much easier to be self-critical and self-judgmental, as Denise was just talking about. And so if we can move away that feeling of we're not doing it for our own ego. We're not doing it because to make ourselves feel better. We're doing it to serve humanity, ultimately, serve the planet. And so again, remembering that it's not about you. Certainly there's tools we're going to talk about, like branding tomorrow and other things that help us to elevate our brand so that we can become more known and seen. But again, it's not about, all the focus is not on you. It's about who we're serving and how we're serving them. So in this segment, we're going to share a few ways that I've used with my clients to help them amplify their voices. We're going to share 3 ways to increase your visibility and reach, the 3 M's to shift your frequency and overcome stage fright on the spot. This is another tip, other tips that other than what Denise just shared. So I'm glad she didn't share the exact same ones. And we're going to try an audience visualization at the end. So I included this photo because this is how I felt for most of my life. So this is how I felt for most of my life when it came to putting myself out there and speaking and sharing my message. If you were here earlier or you were here yesterday, you heard me say that I was a performer and I sang and all of that. So being on stage, performing other people's songs or acts or music was fine. But when it was my voice, including improvised acting was a torture for me. So this is how I felt. And I would love to hear who here has also felt similarly about public speaking. Who here has felt at any point fear or embarrassment, or some of the things that other speakers said, feeling stupid? I know that was one for me. Feeling stupid was a big one for me. I would love to hear who else has shared similar feelings about stepping out. Even just saying yes, I know that I'm not alone. Great. And so I had to work through it. I had to work through a lot of tools. I had to figure it out because when I went into the world as an entrepreneur, it was all on me. And I was the sole breadwinner in my house. I had to figure it out. And so I really wanted to just remove this debilitating fear, but also I needed to earn income. So I worked on through a lot of tools. A lot of them were shifting a lot of the energy in my body. And when I finally started to get out there, I did amazing things. And I'm still in the process, and I can probably update this slide over the next year, because there's a lot of other things that I'm going to be doing that are just so out of my imagination back then that I would never have dreamed of. But I wrote my first book in 2011. I've been on podcasts and radio programs and interviewed for TV and done tons of talks. Worked with celebrities. I was a publicist for many years. I met a lot of celebrities, a lot of actors, a lot of famous people, and not anything I could have imagined when I was younger. So to me, I know it was a testament of the work that I was doing and really supporting other people. Now, the cool thing is that a lot of my clients have been in the same exact shoes as me. They've felt debilitating public fear of public speaking. Maybe not so extreme, but they've had issues. They've had imposter syndrome. I know Denise just mentioned that a bit ago. So I knew that sharing these tools was going to support others as well. And so yesterday I talked about your $1 million mission. And that is a way to amplify your mission. And I say here, instead of 10x, let's 1,000,000x. So that just basically means it's a way of amplifying it, so that amplifying your purpose and your calling. So it's not just serving a few, but we're serving potentially millions, or serving the planet. So when you hear me talk about $1 million mission, that's the idea, is just kind of taking what you're already working on within your mission and purpose, and finding out how you can serve more people, how you can elevate your business or your brand to serve more people. I think Doria did a great job of sharing how we can step into helping and serving the planet. So that was a great role model for that. So why is it important to amplify your visibility and your reach? More visibility and reach means you can serve more people with your message. And I'd love to know, when you read those words or hear those words, serving more people, serving millions, I'd love to know in the chat if anyone is vulnerable enough to share how that feels, serving millions of people. And if it helps, maybe just close your eyes and think of yourself on TV in front of millions, an audience of millions, and see what comes up for you. And I'd love to hear what you say in the chat, if you can type that in. The good and the bad. So I heard intimidating, overwhelming. Yeah. For me, it feels sometimes embarrassing if I make mistakes, or I think I might feel stupid or look stupid. That's a one I mentioned a bit ago, comes up for me a lot. But the more work I've been doing in this area, the more exciting it's becoming. And if you were here earlier, you heard me talk to Elaine. She saw me doing a pitch in Clubhouse. She was in the room. She heard me speaking in Clubhouse. I would never have done a pitch even 6 months ago like that. And this is not something you can prepare for, like for weeks or months. It was just kind of one thing you just got to go. And I would have never done that. And so that to me means the testament. I was debilitating stage fright for 35 years. How can I now do a pitch on Clubhouse in front of hundreds of people? And doing it, and the pitch was done to producers. So these are decision makers. So I thought that was really cool that now people are seeing me do the pitches, which is very interesting. So as a publicist, I'm kind of putting on my publicist hat at this moment. And there are 3 ways to increase your visibility and reach. Getting media exposure, number 1. And what was cool is that it's actually a lot easier than you think to get media exposure. And what was interesting is I was getting media exposure for others, but I actually ended up getting media exposure. Like, people were just stumbling upon me to ask me. Like, somebody from the New York Times reached out to me for an article years ago. And I got quoted in Business Insider. And these were not, some of them I had actually reached out, but some people reached out to me. So once you're kind of putting yourself out there, or not kind of, once you start to put yourself out there, more opportunities will come for you. And the key is to find the angles that fit your work and your audience. So as an example, if you work with moms, May is usually a really good month that people want to cover things about moms. Just giving you an example, right? So if you work with men or fathers, June is a really great time to be reaching out to media and pitching different topics that you have working with men and fathers. And that's just one little, example. But again, it's finding the right angles that fit with your audience. The second thing is speaking. And if we go back to like the $1 million mission that I was talking about a bit ago, speaking is an incredible way to amplify your message and amplify your business so you're reaching more people, not just for your message, but you can also get clients that way. So early in my career, I did a lot of speaking engagements and I got a lot of one-to-one coaching clients from that. And at the time, it was mostly done in person, but now we've had to shift to online. The cool thing about online is that for the most part, we have the opportunity to reach a lot more people. And so now we don't have to always go, and that doesn't have to be all in person. And then the third thing is using our social media platforms. And again, this is finding the right platform for your audience. So all three of these things might seem kind of a simple or no-brainer for somebody. However, it's really, there are nuances in all of these pieces because it's understanding your audience is so key, your target audience, and finding and using the right platforms. I think a lot of this is, these are tactical things, but also there's an underlying piece here, which is mindset and all the subconscious stuff that's happening when you're trying to put yourself out there, which is what I love that today so many of our speakers talked about the fears and overcoming obstacles and challenges and blocks, because that is actually what I've found for myself and with my clients. If we didn't take care of that piece, we weren't going to stand. Like, there was, no matter how much help and how much coaching I gave somebody, they weren't really going to be putting themselves out there, or they were going to sabotage their success or sabotage something happening. So that's why I love adding some shifts in our state to help us break through some of that fear on the spot. So these are things I do. I do it. I'm doing it now. I've been doing it today. I've been doing it before I'm interviewed. I was interviewed on a couple of TV talk show programs, online programs this week. I did all of that before and during my interviews. So the first thing is meditation. And Denise mentioned mindfulness. So silencing the mind, which is, in this case, the inner critic that gives us the chatter. And before I speak, I usually take 3 slow, deep breaths. And that helps calm the nervous system, gets us out of that fight or flight mode, and has helped me. And I learned, actually, originally I heard this from my father, who also did public speaking, and he was a spokesperson for international companies. And I remember him telling me 30 years ago to breathe before going on stage. So definitely something I've carried with me to this day. The second thing is movement. So notice that I've got us sometimes doing stretches, stretch breaks. I ask people to move, to stand up, to jump up. And so all of that helps to get the body moving so that we can shift our state. Tony Robbins is really big on physiological changes. Like, he does, I think it's like, make your move. And then he has people like to actually physically make a movement that is going to shift our physiology. And then the last thing is tied sometimes to movement, but I put it into its separate category because it doesn't have to be tied to movement. And that is music. So I have a few hype songs. For this event, I've been using Edge of Glory to introduce our speakers, and sometimes Paparazzi pops up because it wants to. But I also have other songs that I've been using throughout. So if you love a song, if there's something that really moves you, through music, then listen to that before you go on stage or before you do something. It doesn't have to just be about stage. It could be before you talk to a client or before you talk to a prospect. You can use these tools anytime anything feels scary. If you're going on a date, put on your hype song, jump up and down, get some move your body, and it'll loosen up the jitters. So I'm going to do a short visualization for you all. So I call this the audience visualization. I'd love for you to close your eyes if you can. And I want you to envision yourself, what looks like a hotel room, like a meeting room. Outside of it, you see 2 double doors. And you've been told to go through the double doors and you're not really sure what's on the other side, but you hesitantly open the door, you walk through, and you see that there are hundreds of people there. And they look back and they see it's you, and they stand up and they're excited. They're happy to see you. They're jumping up and down. Many of them have signs with your name. They're just so overjoyed and excited to see you. And you walk through the aisle in the center. You see that there's a stage all the way on the other side. And as you're walking through the center aisle, you're hugging people, you're high-fiving people, you're shaking hands. Some people even want your autograph, and you're thinking, what's happening here? Why are these people so excited to see me? How are they so excited to see me? You keep making your way down this big auditorium all the way to the stage. You walk up the steps. You stand on the stage. And you look out and you've got a spotlight on you. You're in the center of the spotlight. And you're looking out. You thought it was hundreds of people, but actually now that you look out, you realize it's more like thousands of people, maybe 1,000 people there. All of these people are here to see you. They're here to hear you. They're dying to know what's going to come out of your mouth and what you're going to do. And they're still cheering. I mean, it's been a good 5 minutes, and they're still cheering. And they still have the signs up. And they're so excited. And you just stand there for a moment, and nobody's judging. Nobody cares what you're going to do. They're just there for you. They really just are there for you. And I want you to just bask in this feeling for another moment. Feel free to take a breath or two. And what I'd like you to do, the count of 3, is to just open your eyes. Until then, just keep basking in this feeling. 1, 2, 3. Slowly open your eyes. And This is more for your benefit, but I would love to know what feelings came up for you. Good, bad, scary. You could type that in the chat, but also I want you to make sure you write these notes down for yourself. Was it overwhelming? Was it exciting? Was it scary? I had one lady who I did this with, she started to cry because she's never felt, it was overwhelming for her. She'd never felt that. I'm glad that was an amazing visualization. So what I suggest is that you do this exercise. William said it felt good. Yes. So my suggestion is that you're right. You can definitely listen to a recording of it, but you can also visualize it yourself. And the part where it gets different and where this will take your own imagination and your own visualization is that I want you to increase the audience every day. So if hundreds today, maybe 1,000, we got up to 1,000. Well, tomorrow, maybe it's 2,000. An easy way to do it is just to double it. Maybe it's 2,000, then 5,000, then 10,000. By the end of the week, maybe you're up to 20 or 50,000. But this is stretching you to feel more and more comfortable in front of larger audiences. And the things that are coming up for you now, as you process this, usually start to fade away. And the other thing is that we want to work on this stuff now before we're in front of 50,000 people, right? So that we can be more impactful with our message. So I hope that served you. And yo, that's great. Felt the love. And Erin said I had a hard time getting there. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to believe that there are people who actually want to listen to us, that actually want to be served by us. But those are all great things to notice so that we can work on them. I pictured my younger self and it reminded me of who I was. Oh, that's beautiful. So with that, I wanted to share a quote that I've been saying for a long time. And that is, your mission is more important than any fear you may have of sharing it with the world. Your message is more important than any fear you may have of sharing it with the world. And so with that, what was one main takeaway from today?
Well, thank you so much, Alexandra. It's just really wonderful. I guess the main takeaway is like a big umbrella one where I just put it in the chat, saying yes to myself and my mission, not letting the fears overwhelm, or the little voice on the shoulder. And so I just, I needed the shot in the arm. Thank you.
Awesome. For more help growing your visibility and monetizing your brand, go to alexandrafigueredo.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you.